we will have the recording for anyone who is not able to make it tonight. All right, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and start off just by introducing ourselves. Brian and I, Brian and I, and then Anna Bay and Keith are going to hop in as well. So kind of what we're going to do, just because I know some people are like, I kind of want to know what's happening. We're just going to start off with introductions first and share with you guys a little bit about our stories and how we got into coaching, where we are, all those good things. And then we're going to jump over to kind of like a Q&A with our husbands. I know that a lot of you on this call are there's kind of two different types of people on here. There's people who are already coaches, who may be your husband, and you are newer to the business. And so you guys kind of want to hear our story and how we got into this, and kind of just how we kind of make this business happen in communication and all the different things, obstacles we've had to overcome. And then I know there's going to be people on this call too who maybe you're interested in coaching, and so you're on here tonight because you want to learn more about what this could look like for you. And maybe your husband has some questions and some thoughts, and you just kind of want to hear from a man a little bit about coaching and what it looks like for your family. So we know that there's two different types of people on this call, and so hopefully by the end of tonight you have all of your questions answered. If at any point during this call you have any questions that pop in your head, feel free to drop them in the chat box. Like, honestly, Annabelle and Keith are the same way. We're all open books. Like, to be real, we don't want you to do coaching if you don't feel called to it, and if you don't feel like it's absolutely something you want to do. We're not trying to like pull your arm and drag you into this thing. Like, if anything, sometimes we want to tell you everything front end, so you have to really overthink it, because we really want for people on our team to be all in and to believe in the mission, and not to get into something and be like, oh crap, what I signed up for. So we want to be an open book. Drop any questions you guys have in the chat box throughout the call, and we will be like more than happy to answer anything that you guys have. So first things first, we're going to start off with some introductions, a little bit about us, and then we're going to throw it over to Anna Bay and Keith, and Brian may have to slip off to tend to our son who is screaming his head off currently. So for those of you who don't know us, my name is Caroline Foster, and this is my husband, Brian.
Hello.
He will talk. I promise I won't overtake this conversation. I have been a coach for 6.5 years at this point. And when I first signed up as a coach, well, let me back up. I'm kind of jumping into things here. We live right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Brian and I have been married for 7 years. So we've been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids. And one of our little girl is 3.5, and our little boy is 9 months old. I don't know, what else did we share? Oh, Brian works full time. Well, you can talk about your job.
I'm an insurance agent with Farm Bureau Insurance, and I don't know. That's what I do.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're really involved in our church, so we stay pretty busy with stuff there. Brian leads a college small group and then a men's group. He's also a deacon. And then I lead a women's small group. And so we're really involved in our church. So we spend a lot of time doing stuff with that. Yeah, that's basically pretty much it. So a little bit about my coaching story. So like I said, we got married 7 years ago. We met my last semester of college, and we dated for about 2 years, got married. And it was about our first year into marriage. Background story is that I also have worked full-time for 10 years with Red Bull energy drinks. So I worked for them. I managed their collegiate marketing program and sampling program in Tennessee. And so I did that for 10 years full-time. And I worked for them full-time for 10 years. And so about our first year of marriage, we had started a business. It was called Date Crates, a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
First year, really.
That was like second year or first few months. Or am I messing up the timeline here? Okay. But anyways, so I signed up as a coach. We basically dabbled in some other things because both of us have very much like entrepreneur spirits. Like
we're kind of dreamers. Like we just always like dream. I don't know. And we enjoy I guess in our first year, we went to Hawaii on like just kind of a, hey, we're young, we don't have kids, let's do something that we might not, be able to do when we have kids or whatever. So we're just like, let's just do it while we're young. So we went to Hawaii, and that was the first time I think we really had a conversation about Beachbody, because we were talking about, I think I asked Ellen a question was like, what do you want to be like? What do you want to do? What do you want your life to be like? And she just said, well, there's this girl on Instagram that I follow that it's really cool. And I don't really know what she does, but she's like a mom and she's does something with fitness. And it's like, I just want to do whatever she does. And I was like, well, why don't you just reach out to her and ask her what she does? And that was kind of the start of it all, really.
And I was like, no, I'm not reaching out to her because she's Insta famous and she has a ton of followers. And it's funny because that's when Instagram was like really getting going. Like if you looked at my Instagram account back then, I thought it was like to put filters on photos. Was that anybody else or just me? I didn't even realize like it was like a social media platform. But to me, she was just Insta famous. Like I was like, there's no way she would reply. But she did, and I did what Brian told me to do, and I sent her a message, and she was like, let's set up a call tomorrow. And so we did, and Brian and I started talking about it, and I literally pretty much right then and there had never even done a Beachbody program or workout before. I'd seen my mom and dad do like P90X and Turbo Fire and workouts like that back in the day, but I'd never done any kind of Beachbody program before. But at the time, Beachbody owned to the rights to the home workout of Body Pump. And so I'd seen my coach doing Body Pump in her living room. I loved Les Mills Body Pump. So I was like, I'm going to sign up. I'm doing this thing. And so right then and there, I signed up as a coach. Like I said, never done a program before, never even like done a Beachbody workout before. I signed up as a coach and really like never looked back for the most part.
Really kind of after she had the call with Michelle, who is now like her, upline coach in the business, she was telling me about it all. And, she's telling me obviously like Beachbody is a multi-level marketing company. And, Caroline had been approached before by other people and other multi-level marketing companies and like several of them. And, we just talked about it and they never really seemed like a good fit. We just, kind of like, I don't know if we wanted to get into that. And, because we've seen how other companies do stuff and just didn't really blend with our, lifestyle or the way we wanted to be portrayed. But then, she showed me Michelle and like, it's very much like a lifestyle fitness, but then it was also like a ministry. I mean, it's a women's ministry or, fitness ministry. And so it was kind of like, I could see this like fitting in with who we are and what we want to just be and do. And so I was like, this makes sense. I mean, we both love to work out. We both love fitness. So it was really kind of a no-brainer that like, hey, if any company, like multi-level marketing company, like I'm okay trying this because there was just a lot to it more than that. We'll get into this, but like there's no, huge amounts of money you have to put into it. And, all this stuff, all this inventory you have to buy. It's just like, it's all, they handle it all. The company does. It's not like all these huge startup costs because kind of like she was saying, like, I got in, this was really a year or so later, I started my own business. And after about a year of trying it and dumping like, I don't know, I think we dumped like $10,000 into this business I was trying to start. I realized, holy crap, it's expensive to start a business and it's hard to succeed. And, Beachbody just makes it really easy to, make it your own and they give you all the tools you need. And, I know this team and Caroline's done a good job of giving coaches all the tools they need to succeed. And so I just kind of jumped head first and was like, let's do this. Let me know how I can support you. And a lot of times, that just looks like maybe doing the dishes.
We'll talk about that more later.
Call and all that stuff.
He's getting ahead of
rambling,
himself.
But
I don't want you to steal all the content for later. But yeah, so that's a little bit about our story. That's a little bit about how I got into coaching. So I'm going to throw it over to Anna Bay and Keith now to introduce themselves.
Hey, okay, so I'm Annabelle. This is Keith.
Hey.
We just a little bit about us. So we now live in Colorado, which is why it's still light outside and our child is still awake. So he probably will, when he realizes I'm talking, he'll probably run in here and say hi. It's like, what, 7:15 here?
Yep.
So we are Air Force. So we have been in Pensacola, then Georgia, and then we just moved here. We were in Middle Georgia for like 4.5 years and just moved to Colorado not even 2 months ago. So been all over the place. Just a little bit about me and how I got started coaching. I've actually been doing these Beachbody programs for almost 5 years. I did them for about 3 years before I ever even thought about coaching. Basically, long story short, never struggled with weight. Gained 30 pounds in one summer, happy weight, living in Pensacola, living the life of going out, 21, all of a sudden woke up, couldn't fit to my jeans. And then saw a random ad on Facebook. It was a different team. Just, hey, there's this challenge group. Do you want to lose 15 pounds before your wedding? So I was like, yeah, I want to lose 15 pounds before my wedding. Jumped in, had no idea that it was Beachbody whatsoever. He was going to SEER school for a month. So basically in the woods without any kind of communication. And I was moving us to Georgia by myself. So I needed something to focus on to give me some sort of mental relief, which is what working out is for me now. Fell in love with it, fell in love with working out, ended up losing about 45 pounds before my wedding and kept the weight off. And then, of course, you're in the best shape of your life. And then that's when you get pregnant. About a year after we were married, had him right before our 2-year anniversary. But yeah, I never thought about coaching until I came across Caroline's account on Instagram and saw how she was using this as a platform to also spread Jesus and to talk about the Lord and to just love on women and not to be scammy about it. Like a lot of, just like most people our age. Hey, can you go make Ella hush?
Yep. Ella,
we also have 2 dogs who like to speak to the other pups next door. But yeah, of course, anybody our age, we get approached with a lot of MLM opportunities, and I had always thought that they were really scammy and didn't want to be any part of that. But when I saw something that I was already in love with, that had already been very passionate about, it was a walking billboard for Beachbody, losing 45 pounds before Sawyer and then all the baby weight afterwards. And then found Caroline and how she was running it, and that there really was God in the center of everything that she was doing.
Also thought she was Insta famous.
Thought that she was Insta famous and didn't want to message her. And yeah, there was one night I'm assuming just kind of like y'all just talking in Hawaii. We were having a glass of wine after the baby finally went to bed. He was probably 9 months old. And I was telling him about it. It was like, I've never thought about, coaching, but I found this girl and I keep stalking her. And same thing. He was like, why don't you just message her? What's the worst that she can say that she doesn't want you on her team? So messaged her. And I remember, I think, Caroline, you were like, wait, are you ready to sign up as a coach like now? And I was like, yeah, like now. You don't have to convince me. Hopped on a call with her. And, I mean, you were sitting there listening outside of the phone call. But basically, when I got off, he was like, Annabelle, I really think this is something that God is calling you to do. So it's been 1.5 years. And I haven't looked back. I've absolutely loved every single second of it. I mean, he can speak a little bit on his perspective of listening to that phone call and what he thought that night. But for me, I've been all in from day one. So
yeah. So for me, same thing. Also, I'm Keith. So Pensacola, I was in flight training, which is basically a glorified frat party for a year. So I never struggled with weight growing up, but ended up putting on 45, 50 pounds.
You did not put on 50 pounds. Whatever. Okay. That's a little dramatic.
45 pounds in a year. And same thing. We went to the gym. We weighed ourselves. We thought the scale was broken. And suddenly we realized, nope, scale isn't broken. We put on weight. So like she said, she got started with the programs while I was at SEER, came back and she had lost weight. And I was like, ooh, you're looking good. Let me have a bit of that. So
I had to make him try it though. I had to make him try it. I was working at Victoria's Secret. So 12-hour shift, I would get home super tired and be like, no, you are doing this with me. Supper can be cooking in the oven while we're doing this. It's 30 minutes. I had the DVDs of 21 Day Fix. This was before VOD. I was like, you were doing this with me because I need motivation and you're getting your butt in here and you're doing it with me. And then he was like, oh wow, these are hard. I don't have to just go run at the gym. So now he does them too.
Yeah, like
he really loves the
she
program.
said she was doing at-home workouts, and I was imagining Richard Simmons in tights. Turns out that wasn't the case, and I got my butt kicked the first few workouts. So ended up, me too, I lost weight. So, they say be proof of the product. I am just as much proof of the product as she is. But yeah, so we've been doing the programs now for almost 5 years. And so when it came time for me to like think about coaching, I knew that I wasn't going to just quit, because I had already been doing it for 3 years and was already loving it. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about us. We've been all in. Yep.
I love it. So, okay, we're going to dive into a little Q&A. So this should be fun because the guys have seen these questions, but I don't think they've had time to really prepare. So we'll see what kind of answers we get out of these. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box because we would love to answer any questions that you guys have as well. So we're just going to kind of go back and forth. We just typed up some questions that we thought that maybe your husbands would be interested in hearing on, or maybe you would be interested in hearing on. So we're going to go back and forth. So just me and Brian, and then we'll throw it over to Keith and Anna Bay, kind of back and forth. So Brian, first question.
Feels like the dating game or something.
I know, it does, kind of. Like, what would he say? What would you say to the man out there whose wife just came to him about coaching and who's worried is going to use up all of her time or cost her a lot of money?
I would say, first of all, this business doesn't take a whole lot of time and money, really. So don't look at it like that. The thing I think is most cool about this business is how the community that it's created within this team, where there's so many times Caroline tells me, she wishes that her team lived closer. Some of them do live close, but she wishes that, she could see them more in person. Because it's like her people. She loves, the community that has just kind of come out of this. And I think that a lot of the other coaches could say the same thing, that these are, it sounds kind of weird to say, but these are like some of their best friends, even though a lot of times most of the communication is done via Zoom or, Skype or whatever. And I mean, we do see each other in person, several times a year at different events and at retreats that, they go on and stuff. But I think that's the big thing is it's more than just like a business or a way to make money or, something that's pulling, your wife away from your family or family time. It's just a community that, I don't know, that they can really just feel connected with and share common passions. And, there's obviously a little bit of money, but that you can easily make that back. And that's not something I would worry about. And we'll talk about more about that. But it's been a huge blessing to us.
We didn't share that part of our story. Like, I started this business before we had kids with the hope that whenever we had kids, I could stay home and leave my corporate job. And that didn't really happen with baby number one as fast as we wanted it to. And part of that was just because like, I didn't really I felt like I didn't really figure out my groove and my place in the business in a lot of ways, and like how I wanted to do things for a few years, which I've completely been able to like kind of change for my team so that they can be successful quicker, if that makes sense. Yeah, do you want to kind of talk about that? Like now that I am doing it full time and was able to start staying home.
Yeah. And that was the thing is we were, like most people, we looked at ourselves and was like, well, we would love for you to stay home, but like, it might be hard to do on one income. So this could be an outlet where, you could stay home and can make some extra money to kind of, allow you to stay at home and us, not to barely be able to get by. So we kind of like, well, let's start now and maybe we'll get there. And, fortunately we've at that point. And, so Caroline's, left her job and we're, making more than we thought we were going to make. But anyways, so that was kind of the goal. It wasn't about necessarily amount of what we can make. It's more or less, we want to have this lifestyle where she can stay at home. And that's what it's brought. And then what was the thing you were going to say?
Oh, just the No, that was it. Just the question was just like financial, like, what would you say to the person who's worried that it's going to take up all their wife's time? Because I was also thinking about, like, there's probably some men out there who they're worried that their wife's not going to be able to keep up with like all the housework, or, you know, like if she's a stay-at-home mom, like she's hard to keep up with things if she has to do this business. So what would you say to them?
And I would say, we look at our marriage I'm sure you guys do too, as a team. And so, I'm here to support her. And so if that means that I have to, I can find a way to help her so she can, go off for a second to hop on a call with somebody or whatever, then, I'll do the dishes, because that's the way you can support your spouse. And, it sounds, I don't know, simple, I guess, but like, it goes a long way in showing them support. And, honestly, the difference in a good coach and someone who probably gives up is the supportive spouse. I've seen it with time again. You can just see the difference in when you have that support of the spouse, how much more successful they can be at this business and how much more they get out of just the community they have, because you're allowing them to, go and just have a call with somebody and, connect.
And I think too, like, another question wasn't for me, but I hear the side from a lot of women who are like, oh, my husband thinks I'm on my phone all the time, or he's like annoyed because I'm like checking things on my phone, or I'm checking something on my computer. And I think a lot of times it's like this shift of how we look at the business too. Like Brian touched on the community side of it, but there is a lot of coaches out there who maybe their husband doesn't realize that this is a legit business. Like there's probably a lot of husbands out there who are like, oh, my wife does this thing. And it's easy for us to think that. And it's easy for us as wives to even feel like it's that sometimes. Like I even found myself when we were at the beach, this woman asked us what we do in Nashville. And I like kind of got awkward because I was like, I have a fitness business, it's like, you kind of feel like, what do you say? And I'm like, find myself being like, oh, I stay home. I'm like, I have this little fitness business on the side. Yeah, right. Like this is a big business, it's not this little thing that I do. And so I think even having the mindset of like your wife is working a legit job. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that because they're at home and they're on their computer, but it's like, just full transparency. Our coaching business makes almost double what Brian's full-time job makes. So it just, like not downgrading your job, but, but saying awesome. Like, it just shows like how this is a business. And so also remembering that like, she's not just doing this little hobby thing. She's doing something that is going to bring in an income for your family together.
And, there's a lot to that, like with us, like when we started, we always had these little goals of like, okay, usually, you buy the product like Shakeology and Beachbody On Demand, so you can, do it yourself. And then hopefully you'll start selling enough to where whatever you sell pays for that. And so that was like, it's kind of the goal starting out and it's really, say $150 to get started. You got Shakeology, you got Beachbody On Demand. And then, you can make that back pretty quick with a few sales. And from there, it was just like, okay, what if we made like $500 a month? What if we could pay for our mortgage? Like we bought a house and we're like, that'd be so cool if we could like just pay for the mortgage with the money you make from Beachbody. And it just keeps going from there. Just so it's fun to see that grow. And it's something that when you work together on and you're supportive of each other, you can, share in those goals that you hit.
I think too, like that's part of the reason I've been so successful in this business is because I don't look at it as like Caroline, like it's not like Caroline's thing and like Brian's, like we really talk, like it's really kind of our thing together. Like I've made it a personal goal that every single Beachbody event that I go to or anything, he comes with me. So like I never go to anything, obviously, like unless it was like a retreat where it was like women only or something. But like for the most part, like he pretty much does everything with me. Like even when we had our team retreat a couple years ago, like he was there and he was like helping set stuff up and he like he did a training for the team on stuff. Like he's always been super involved. And I think it's like, he doesn't coach. Like, honestly, he doesn't even always do Beachbody workouts, like not downgrading that, but just saying, he is now doing muscle burns fat, but like he doesn't have, what I'm saying is he doesn't need to be a Beachbody robot to support me. You know what I'm saying? And that's, if your husband doesn't want to do Beachbody workouts, that's okay. If he does, that's cool too. But like he doesn't have to be all about Beachbody to support you in the business and for it to be your business together.
Yeah.
So, okay, Annabelle, Keith, we'll throw it over to you.
Okay, sorry, I got to pull back up the thing. Okay, so basically the same type of question, but just what would you say to the man who's struggling with his wife using 2 nights a week to work on things for business? So kind of the same question of just like taking time away from, like for us now, like a lot of times our calls are like right in the middle of dinner and things because it's 7 o'clock here instead of 9 o'clock like it was in Georgia and things like that. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I've had to change my mindset to kind of what you were saying, Caroline. Like, this is a job. I don't care if you're making more than your wife. Like, it doesn't matter. Your wife is passionate about something. It gives her something for herself. And so, like, regardless of the amount of money that you're pulling in, which now we've gotten to where kind of like you, Caroline, and Brian, like, we're making more than we were when we started. So, like, it's grown, but regardless of the money, like, it gives her purpose and it gives her something that, like, she has for herself that's not, like, related to the kid, not related to the house, not related to, like, for us, military life is stressful enough. She needs something consistent outside of that. And this community and the purpose that it gives her in helping other women, you know, I don't care what money she's bringing in. It's something for her. So 2 nights a week, like, I get 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week plus, like, to myself to, like, work and be away and do stuff for the family.
Have adult conversations.
Yeah, have adult conversations. So 2 nights a week, it's pretty minimum compared to what I get. And, like, I know that, like, my job and what she's doing may look different. Like, yeah, I'm sitting at a computer typing up Word documents and emails and Excel spreadsheets and all that stuff. It's just different.
I do a lot of that same stuff, baby.
Yeah, but, like, majority of it's
like
on social
emails,
media.
Excel.
Yeah, but it's a lot more like talking with people. And so a little bit of background on me. When I was in college, I did sales and marketing. And so I get it. Like, I understand the pyramid structure. Even if it's not an MLM, there's still some sort of pyramid within an organization. So, like, I understood that part of it. And so, you know, if that's something that she wanted to pursue, we basically made an agreement at the beginning. We're just going to pay for the products every month. That's our goal. Well, she hit that the first month, and then she hit it the second month, and 18 months later, she's hit it every month and then some. So a lot of stuff. But that's just been because she's been consistent, and because I think, I mean, the fact that I don't know, I can't scroll over and see how many guys are on the call, but the fact that you guys are here sitting watching this call is a huge encouragement. Like, and just like you're here watching this 2 couples talk about the business, like, when it's not a call, give your wife that time because she needs it for herself. And for, like, I've noticed that she has become a better wife because she does have that time away to, like, have a purpose outside of just marriage, kid, house. She gets that, like, break for herself. And so just, like, encourage her, let her have that time. It's 2 nights a week. I mean, for us, it's not really 2 nights a week, but there are power pockets throughout the day. And so let her have that time.
Or times where he comes home and I'm like, you have to watch Sawyer. Like, he did not nap today. I've got nothing done. You are going to have to take him. I always tell him, it's your turn to go make memories. Like, you need to go make some memories with him. You need to go down in the basement and play with him. But I just want to add, I think too, like he said, it's a lot of power pockets in the day. Like, yes, you'll see a lot of us, we get up really early in the morning to get a couple of things done, but maybe like an hour between that and us working out. And then, you know, if my child naps, and then sometimes at nighttime, but that's a really good trade-off, y'all. Like, I get to stay at home with my kid. I don't have to pay for childcare, which is very expensive and very hard to find when you're a military wife and you're moving every few years and you have to find new everything. We already have to find new doctors, dentists, chiropractors, pediatrician. Adding a daycare on the list to that would be miserable, much less trying to find another corporate job. I mean, just a little background on me. I was in grad school for substance abuse counseling. Like, I was getting my master's, and you will see a lot of military wives do side gigs like this because it's really hard to have a career and move every few years. Is he okay?
Yep.
Okay. Didn't know if he fell. But it's a really, really good trade-off. The fact that I get to build a business at home and I only have to work a couple of nights a week max. And that's only 2 nights a week every other few weeks. Like sometimes it's just 1 night. Sometimes, I can get everything done before he even gets home. And to me, that is worth every single minute and every single penny of the $160 investment that we put into this business, because no daycare, staying at home, I don't miss a single thing that goes on with my kid. And it's just been a huge blessing. So I know it wasn't my question, but I just think when you look at it from that perspective, like it's a really good trade-off. And like he said, your wife gets something for herself. And that's something that I desperately, desperately needed in a community that I didn't even know I needed. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think that's it. That answered ours.
That Keith, I was literally like snapping over here, like, oh my goodness, that's so good, so true. So all right. So my question. So Brian, what's worked well in helping you and I communicate about things happening in my business? Like how have you kind of approached that?
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the week, we kind of sit down and talk about like, what do you have going on this week?
We do the marriage journal.
Yeah, we do the marriage journal.
Audrey Roloff and Jeremy Roloff.
But I think communication is just important to know, like, I mean, we communicate a lot throughout the day just to know, how your day's going, what you got planned for the night. Just, I think that's important to just know, like if you got a coach you need to talk to, or you got a challenge you want to hop on the phone with, like, she'll let me know, and I, do whatever I need to do to give her that time.
But I really don't do calls like during, like, when you're home really much anyway, but.
Yeah. I mean, was there something else you were thinking of? Because
no,
I was just going to talk about the phone thing too.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I was thinking about, it's kind of communication wise too, but like with this business, a lot of what you do and how you're able to run it is just from your phone. And so, sometimes, from my perspective and from maybe a spouse's perspective, you might look at it and be like, man, like, I feel like you're on your phone a lot. But a lot of times if they are on the phone, they're doing something with their business. And so you kind of have to restructure your mind. And yes, it's not like Kelly's on her phone all the time by any means, but the fact that she's able to literally run a big business, this small business, but, do as well as she does just by using her phone essentially for pretty much all her communication and to run the entire business is kind of amazing. And so, just like anything, I guess it's kind of like a necessary evil, but it's just amazing that you can have this opportunity just by, using your phone and be as successful as as this business allows you to be.
Yeah.
So. And
I'll say this too, just something I was thinking about when we were sitting here talking. I think also just like the power of, like supporting her in the little things too. Like even things like taking a picture for Instagram. Like I have a friend who we're actually talking to at the beach, and one of her good friends is a blogger, and she feels really discouraged as a blogger because her husband like just doesn't get it, and he like kind of makes fun of her. And it's really sad because she actually has a really good following and a really good blog, and it's really good. And it's kind of like she stays home and it's something she does for kind of a purpose type thing, like we were talking about. And it made me really sad, and me and Brian were talking about it, but like it's those little things, like he just kind of pokes fun at it, kind of like, oh, your blog, or like if she asks him to take a photo, he kind of pokes fun at her about it. But it's those little things that really can sting the most. And so I think sometimes even just being supportive and be like, oh yeah, let me snap a photo, like being encouraging of the things that she's doing, because at the end of the day, like Brian said, like it may seem small to a lot of people who don't really fully understand it, but in a lot of ways, like building a business on Instagram and on Facebook and social media is still kind of the Wild West. Like there's still a lot of room for it to continue to grow. And so I think sometimes just because you don't understand it, like doesn't mean that it isn't legit or that it's not something you should support her in.
And just get involved, ask questions. I mean, learn about it, because I kind of, after I tried to do that business and realized how tough it is, I was like, I really want to dig into Beachbody a little more and see what I can learn and where I can help. I think that was kind of the turning point for me and for us. So.
Yeah. And really quickly touch on, too, like Brian also has always asked where he can help, and always kind of looked for things that maybe like I'm not the strongest in. Like I'm not the most detail oriented person, and I don't like numbers that much. So Brian has always been really great about tracking all of my financials and all the back end stuff. I mean, he literally logs in every Thursday on what's called like, it's kind of like our rank advancement day and our payday, and just kind of the day that everything gets posted. And he'll log in on the back office and like pull all my numbers and stick them in this spreadsheet. And like, I don't even ask him to. He'll be like, oh, did you know XYZ? And I'm like, no, but that's cool. And it's honestly because he's just invested in it. Like he's curious. He wants to know. He wants to see what's happening. And I would just be like, oh, cool, But like, that's something that he sees that I'm not great at. And he's like, oh, let me help her because I am good at that and I enjoy that. So even those little things I think help with communication, because he feels a part of it in a way. So.
Okay, so yeah, just same question for you. Literally same question. Just how do we communicate?
Yeah, so 2 things just to piggyback on what you guys just said. Husbands, take a class in mobile photography on YouTube, because you are going to be asked to take pictures of your wife, and I am still terrible at it.
Or just buy your wife a tripod like he did.
Yeah.
And that is a huge help.
Buy the tripod, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. And then secondly, yeah, so she is not super great with the numbers. She didn't get in this for the money. Like, she got in this to pay for the products we were already using and to help other women. Money's been a good, like, offshoot of that, but that's not why she got in it. Me as a money guy, as like the budgeter for the house, which we do a good job budgeting together, but like I track it a lot more regularly. And so I log in every Thursday. I look at the back office just like Brian, and I'm like, okay, still a diamond. All right, hey, did you know you made $400 this week? And she's like, what?
No.
Like,
I never know.
That's crazy.
I never know. He has to tell me.
And I know, like, I'm saying $400 in a week, like that's crazy. But for us, like, that is a huge growth from last year. Like, and to watch, so I, just like Brian, earlier this year, I tracked, I was like, okay, here's where you were a year ago. Here's what that trend has done over the course of 12 months. And here is 12 months later, same month, different year. Here's what the difference is. And it's just like awesome for us to be able to like see the growth and work, like, see that financial impact together. But like I said, that's not why she got in this. And honestly, like, if you're in this for a get rich quick scheme, that's not what it is. Like, wives, husbands, whoever thinks that, it's not. But like, you are able to help women. You are able to bring some money into the household.
And it's an opportunity. This is not a money question. You turn it into a money question, but there's no other business that you can percentage wise increase your income yearly like you can with this kind of opportunity. But I just want to clarify, it doesn't mean that you have to be good at financial stuff to support your wife. If you also suck at financial stuff, maybe she's good at it. That doesn't mean that you can't communicate and support your wife with stuff. But I think for us, one of the really big things is just communicating goals every month. Like, this goal, like this month, this is what I really want to hit this month, or in the next 6 months. Like, we have goals for this year. Just like Caroline was saying, like, it's a them thing, and it's really turned into an us thing, which is just so encouraging, and it gives us something to dream about and to be excited about. And I mean, because he's in the military, you can kind of see where his income's gonna go. It's pretty normal, unless something crazy happens. And so this is something that we can really get excited about, and just to like sit down after Sawyer goes to bed and talk and to dream and to think about goals and to communicate in that way. It gives us something to connect with and to get excited about. And
I've seen too, like, there are sometimes like talking through ideas together, whether it be like an advertising idea or how to run a sale, or like talking through that together. It, like, one, shows that you're bought in, so your wife feels supported. But two, like, it may help the idea. Like, don't blow it off, because you may help your wife's business. Mm-hmm. And like, if you work on it as a team, then you're only going to help it, as opposed to like always like fighting her on getting on a call or, you know, asking her why she's on her phone so much, you're only going to tear it away, and it's going to be, you know, whatever, a month wasted because you weren't supportive and she gave up because she didn't feel supported.
Yeah.
So just like talk about it with her, make her feel supported, try and learn more about the business, because I think a lot of people just dismiss it because they think, oh, MLM is just another one of those things. And I can tell you this team is not. So just like take the time and really learn each body.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I always hear from women is, well, my husband doesn't want me to do it because he doesn't think I'm going to stick with it. He thinks I'm going to quit. He thinks that this isn't going to go anywhere. And I get it. Like, I get it. But my response is always, but what if she does? Like, just to be point blank, you don't want to be that husband who tears down your wife because what if she does? Like, okay, yeah, she could quit. But the only investment that you're making is, you know, what you're going to use yourself. But what if she doesn't quit? What if she becomes really healthy and, you know, feels really confident in her body again and becomes a better mother and becomes a better wife and has more energy and is nicer all the time? Because let's be honest, you know, sometimes especially being a mama, I can get super cranky, and working out and having this community helps me. And what if she does do something in her business? And what if it does change your life financially? So yes, there's a what if not, but I think with communication and talking and just like being open with each other and being supportive with each other, you got to think like, but what if she does? Like, what if she does stick with it? What if it does change your life? But exactly what he said, just be supportive, be open and willing to hear it out, and ask Keith questions, ask Brian questions. They're open, they're open books and willing to talk to about all the number stuff. But that was a little off subject, but sorry, I got on a pedestal.
No, I love it.
A pedestal. Soapbox. That's what it's called.
I think we should go ahead and just do some Q&A now, like some open Q&A, if you guys are cool with it, so we're not just like repeating ourselves here.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, seriously.
We've heard it all.
You can drop it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Seriously, any questions that you guys have that you want to ask our host?
What do they always say in school? No question's a dumb question.
Exactly.
Except for the question not asked.
Yes.
Where's the chat box at?
It's right down here.
Make sure we see it.
Yeah. Anybody?
Hey, Caroline. We have a question.
Yes. Thank you, Erin.
So, this might be personal, but is it your goal to bring Brian home from his job?
No.
Brian's like, yeah.
That just makes me a little nervous. I don't know. Like, it's just a lot of pressure.
I mean, we're not like, it's like a far out dream, but we're not going to be trying to do it like before it's just like obvious. It's like, why am I even working?
Like, it would have to be like, oh, why is he even working? This doesn't make sense. But I just think we're still really young, and like, he has an incredible job with a lot of flexibility. And so I think it would be different if he was like, you know, the job that he was at before where he was in a cubicle. No, Brian is our insurance agent, and he will work with no one else. I love it. So I don't know, like, it's not for me, because I'm just like, I just don't want that kind of pressure. Like, what if obviously I don't think Beachbody is going to go away, but to put all of our eggs in one basket, it just kind of freaks me out.
But I mean, it would have to be a numbers thing, really, like where it's clear, like
numbers. See, back to numbers.
I mean, really, where it's clear, like, okay, like, you know, house is paid for, like, got a lot in savings and all this stuff, like where there's not as much risk. But I mean, you know, with just, you know, when it comes to like our, I guess, like income wise, steady wise, like, you know, this business isn't just like zoop, 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 like it's a steady build. And so that's why there is like a little bit, there's confidence in it, like that you can do that, because people do that. I mean, it does happen, you know. And
for those of you who don't know, my upline, Michelle, her husband left his job. He was a full-time pastor at Biltmore Baptist, and he left his full-time job to just be home to basically support her, because she was pursuing She Works His Way, which is her kind of main thing that she does now. But And so we have seen it play out with a lot of people around us. I don't know. It feels like that feels so far away, and I don't feel like it's. I feel like it's just kind of like, if it happened, cool. If not, it's not really a goal. If that makes sense. Maybe for Ryan, but not for me.
I know for us, my goal is just to have, like, to be able to put enough in savings, because being military and being an officer, he'll retire at 42. So I would love for him not to have to go find a job just to have a job that he doesn't love, or to be able to pick something that he does love, not for the money, but just because it's something that he's passionate about. And, 2 years ago, I didn't even imagine that would be an option. So to know that we have the opportunity to build up our savings to the point where, whatever happens, we have a pillow. So when he retires, he can just go work for Coke again or whatever he actually wants to do, and actually can enjoy his job.
Yeah.
Actually, this will make you guys laugh just because I have to say it. Tonight at dinner, Brian's like, I should just one day, whenever I make enough and I can leave my job, I'll just leave and I'll become like mompreneur, and I'm going to create content.
No, for real though.
Because he's mind blown by all these people that make like all these downloads and how much money they make, because it's like $30,000 in 1 month.
The thing is, if I ever left my job, I couldn't sit around and like just kind of not. I don't know. I'm just too entrepreneurial minded that I'd be looking for the next thing to like kind of work on as a little project to try to build more income. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Which is a good lesson. If you are the husband, if you're the type that couldn't just sit around the house and just work in the house all day and do laundry all day, don't expect your wife to just sit in the house and not do anything for her either.
Exactly. That's true.
Amen to that.
Everyone has to have an outlet, and if the outlet helps you make money, it's even better.
Yes, and not spend it.
Yeah.
Okay, Keely had a question. Is there a certain percentage of income you save per week? I'm good with numbers and budgeting, but getting married in a few weeks and just learning all things adulthood.
Yeah. So we started this thing last year, and it was a great just starting point. Like, you basically start the year, or whenever you want to start, with $52 into savings in a week. The next week you put in $51. The next week $50, so on and so forth, until a year hits and you put like $1,300 into savings. But the reason it works well is because you start higher. So because you did 52, 51, 50, 49 1 month, that means the next month you're going to be putting less into savings. Like, it's taking less out of your monthly income, so there's more money to spend.
But it's a good, like you said, it's a good place to start. So if you feel like, well, wow, we can do that and then some, it's just a good place to start. And then you can kind of figure out, it's like tithing, you sit down and you figure out how much of a percentage you want to put towards that. But that's what we do.
I think Dave Ramsey basically says, like, you really want just like $1,000 in savings is a good starting point.
Yeah.
So just like do what you can to get there, and then once you're there, like, focus on adding into it. I mean, this is a budgeting question. This isn't like coaching, but just putting something in savings is better than nothing, because rainy days happen.
Yeah.
We have an AC currently giving us many rainy days.
Sweating right now.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think, like I said, I'd check out Dave Ramsey, just his baby steps. That's kind of what we loosely follow, and more or less of just like, what you want to do. Like I said, pay off debts, or get $1,000 in emergency fund, pay off any debts, other than your house, and then just build up that emergency fund to like 3 to 6 months of, your income, so that if something happens, say you lost your job, you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses.
Or like say a pandemic just happens.
Yeah, like pandemic. Yeah.
Me and Brian are like, I feel like sometimes I want to control, like, because I want saving, like a lot in savings, because it freaks me out. But I don't know. We just that's what we've pretty much followed. Yeah.
So really, it's no certain percentage. Just kind of whatever works for you. Like you said, you could do a number, you could do a percentage. Never a bad idea, because kind of like tithing. 10%. Starts out. If you're not making, if you start when you're not making a ton, it is easier to do than when you're making a lot more, and then 10% all of a sudden is a lot. So kind of, just start somewhere.
Yeah. My mom always said growing up, it's a lot easier to tithe on $5 than it is $5,000. So even when we were little kids with our, allowance or anything, we always tithed, and that was just really good from like an early age. So that's a tithing thing, whole other subject, but similar concept in that sense, I guess. So.
All right. Any other questions?
Of course, Keely.
Yeah, I have a question for the guys. What's his name? Brian and Keith. Sorry.
No, great.
Two questions. One, what have you guys learned about your wives in this process? 5 years is a long time. And as they've taken on this, like, what have you guys learned about their character that you were surprised about? And then that's just kind of like a formal question as I watch my wife kind of grow and mature in this business. And then the second part to that is, when have you guys had to pump the brakes for your wife's sake to be like, slow down? Hey, like, this is great, but you guys are very successful in what you're doing right now. Let's just slow down. Let's take a break. Let's have you guys had to do that at all? Or have you just kind of like taken the pedal to the metal and just gone full steam ahead? I think Anna Bay and Keith, you guys may be a little different because you travel more, because military, you're like, hey, we can't get into this many conversations right now. But like, when have you guys as husbands had to look at your wives and say, hey, business is great, but let's just take a break for a minute and like, let's work on us or work on this, along with what have you seen from your spouse that has like surprised you in their growth as a person, not as a business entrepreneur?
Yeah.
So I would say, sorry, you can go ahead, Brian.
Now you go. Yeah.
So I would say one of the things that I've seen is just her heart for helping people has grown outside of what she initially planned. Like she said, she wanted to do substance abuse counseling, but she saw a purpose in this that still helped people both on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level. And just like watching her grow spiritually and in her walk with Christ has been a huge encouragement. Like, she grew up in a small southern town, Baptist church. She'll tell you it was like your typical Baptist southern church. And to like see her now have a real walk with the Lord and like wake up and have a quiet time and like spend that time with God before anything else. Like, I don't care how much weight she loses. Like, that is what's important, and that's what's going to last a lot longer than this business or her time here on earth. So I think for me, like, watching that side of the business, and it's not something that you see across Beachbody, so that's been great. And then also just like her creativity. Like I said, I was a marketing guy. I know sales, and like initially I was like, okay, I'm gonna like have to walk her through this. I never told her that, but I was like, I'm gonna like have to pull out my marketing like my marketing skills. No, she's been like, she's done it all on her own. I don't help her with that. And it's still like got her team growing, and still, so just learning new things about her as well as just seeing her growth. And then as far as like taking time away, I think there's times where like recently she hit Success Club 10 the last 3 months, which is an awesome achievement. And that's like what you should strive for. But like, she'll still at the end of hitting 10, she's like, okay, but I still want to get more. I'm like, okay, yes, that's great. Growth is not a bad thing. However, you hit Success Club 10, like, look at what financially that's done for us. You've still done great this month. So like, now you can ease back a little bit. Now we can just like hang out, drink a glass of wine.
No, he has never said any of these things to me. I'm calling him out. I think, no, I'm going to speak for him because sometimes he forgets what he says, and then when he repeats it back, I'm like, that is not at all. He does this all the time, y'all. I think it's more just, like helping me remember to take a night off. Like, hey, you can get up and do this in the morning. Like, that message can wait. Like, you don't, because I want to help people. So when I get a message, I'm like, I got to respond back to him right now because they need me. And he is good about reminding me, like, hey, that can wait until the morning. But as far as long breaks, vacations, really, like, we are planning a Disney cruise, thankfully, to this business of being able to afford that, which we wouldn't have been able to, even 6 months ago. And knowing that I'm not going to have a phone for a whole week, like things like that. Like, Caroline just took a beach trip and unplugged for a week. Just having them remind us, like, it's okay to unplug sometimes for that family time. But as far as like pumping the brakes, not so much. Just taking those moments off and not constantly feeling like you have to respond to that email right that second. And when you're passionate about something, and Caroline, I think will say the same thing, when you're really passionate about something, it's really easy to get sucked into it all the time because you love what you do. And that's amazing. And it's a good thing. We don't hate our job. We love it. But it's nice to have our husbands to say, hey, like, let's go out for a date night and let's leave our phones at home, like that kind of thing. But not like, oh, well, you hit this month, so don't help any more people.
Yeah.
It's more
like
wording was a little
take a
off
break
there.
for the night.
Caroline's like, nuh-uh.
Like,
Pump the brakes.
like last
I
month
was like,
she hit
wait up.
Success
No,
Club-
I'm just kidding.
last month she hit
She was
Success Club
about to
10.
crawl all over you. Don't tell her to stop.
She hit 10 like week 1. And I was like,
You just need
Whoa.
to stop talking.
Okay.
Brian, you
All right,
go ahead.
let's see what Brian thinks.
Yes, please. You.
mute it.
So, I'll probably talk more about the kind of the finding the balance, but the way she's grown, I'd say she's gotten more confident in herself, which I think is always, great. Like you want your, spouse to be confident in themselves, both spiritually, physically, and just as a leader, just, I don't know, just, feeling that purpose, I think I've seen the confidence grow within her in all different areas because she's kind of found her purpose. I don't know, that's a big thing. I mean, other than that, you just learn stuff along the way and gotten better at just talking, about things. And, maybe it started out a little awkward when she was starting to try to talk to people about, being in her challenge group or something, but it just gets more natural. But I think the thing with us is we've always, I've always been we're always one to try to balance each other out, like try to, just put boundaries on things. Cause, now we have 2 kids and like whenever we come home from work, let's say, we try to really, put our phones away from about, 5 o'clock when we get home, let's say, to, when the kids go down around 7:30 or 8. And then, if she needs to do anything at that point, she might hop on a call or whatever, but really we've set it up to where, like Monday nights is team call and, she might work a little bit after that. And then there might be one other night in the week where she, works on her business, and that's kind of our boundaries. And then, she did this business when she was working full time for, like 5 years, really almost 6 years. So, we still made it happen in those little pockets, but the key is balance and boundaries. You can put a lot of effort into it and it might accelerate your business a little bit. But it does, you got to look at it as kind of like tortoise wins the race. It's, you can get burned out if you do too much in the beginning. And I've had to, remind her, like, last year, like she was pushing for this big goal, right around the time our second was born. And, I was like, look, Caroline, like you just had a baby, like it's not, you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. It's fine. And I mean, she wasn't working, hard or, too much or anything like that. It was just like she kind of put pressure on herself. And so just kind of be there to remind her, like, hey, it's, you're doing great. It's going to be okay. Just give it to God, really, because God can multiply our efforts, whether we, work 6 days or a week or 7 days. Shout out Chick-fil-A. So I think that's something too, is just pray, over your business, pray over the time that you have. I mean, I remember, early on before we really had kids, we would go to Starbucks and that would give her time to work on her business. I could kind of help her or, do research about it or do work on anything I wanted. But that was kind of like time we spent together, working on like a Saturday just for a few hours and kind of make it fun into a date. So I think there's just things like that you can kind of, balance. And, if you have any, specific questions or just, want to talk to me more, then I can definitely do that. I'll give you some, because kind of got to think back about some of those years before, we had kids or, once you had a full-time job, things that we did, but just ways to make it fun and, but it's just communication, setting those boundaries, setting times where you guys know what's going on, and what she needs to get done and what you hope to do together that week, maybe, so that there's communication there.
Yeah, I always ask, me and Brian on Sunday nights, we do the marriage journal, and I always ask him, like, hey, what are some things that you would like for me to get done around the house this week? And that way I can make sure that I put those on one day, and make sure that those get done. So, for me, I try to pick 3 top things in my business I want to do every day. But then after that, I really need to make sure I'm getting all my stuff at home done. And so another thing too that we have done is one morning a week, just for 3 hours, like we have a girl come to our house and watch our kids, so I can just like go to Starbucks or somewhere and work, just because we've personally found that when I have like 3 hours of focused time, I get done the amount that I would get done in like 3 days with our kids at home. So it's, sometimes little sacrifices like that where, kind of looking at it as a business, but then and investing that money, because it costs us for me to go, but at the same time, it's like, then when I'm home with the kids or here at home, I'm focused on the things I need to do as a wife and a mom.
And that's something that we didn't always do. Now we're in a spot where financially it makes sense for her to do that. So, it all evolves, but I think communication and balance is key. Mm-hmm. Boundaries.
Any other questions? Or anything in the chat? No.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Guys. Yeah, so Katie and I were actually coming up on our 1-year anniversary here on Sunday.
Congratulations.
Super exciting. My background, I've been working from home for almost 10 years, and Katie's been a teacher for about the same amount of time. And now we're flipping roles where she's now moving into the work from home, and we want to start our family here in the next year or so. And I'm going back into the world, and just wondering, what kind of advice maybe you guys could give us from, somebody who's obviously been married for a little bit longer, and just, I don't know, what kind of advice you could have for us for making sure we can stay connected, and how we can schedule things to be able to, just schedule time to connect, or find ways to balance those two things.
Yeah. I think, first of all, I know I keep doing plug for Marriage Journal. I don't get paid by them for people to go buy it, but it really is great. It's called the Marriage Journal. It's by Audrey Roloff and Jeremy Roloff. I don't know if you ever watched Little People, Big World. Jeremy Roloff's family was on there. And he and his wife started this organization called Beating 50%, because 50% of marriages end in divorce. And so they created this journal that's really cool. You basically do it every Sunday night or one night a week, and it really just helps with communication. You talk about your schedules for the week. Obviously, none of it, we haven't had a whole lot going on since all the pandemic and everything. So we haven't had as much to be like, oh, I have a meeting for work late that night or something like that. But it's great because it helps us just to communicate about what's happening that week. And then also just dives into some different things about how did you feel loved this week? How did I hurt you this week? What are some things that I could have done better to serve you this past week? Just really communicate about things that sometimes are kind of awkward to randomly bring up, or, maybe things that you've been kind of holding on to that you hadn't really let come to the surface. And so that has really helped us a ton. And I think that is a really great place to start. I think eventually you might get to a place where you don't have to necessarily have the journal, but you get into a really good rhythm of talking about those things and communicating about those things. And so I would say that that's helped us a ton. I just think that communication is one of the things that people struggle with the most in their marriage. And it's really easy to start to hold things in. So that, I think, is really important. What else do you have to add?
And, I think it's kind of cool how you guys are basically flipping roles, because you guys both, in a sense, know what it was like when you were in either the workforce or, working from home, and there's very different dynamics there. So kind of in a sense, with her being home now, we're in that same boat as she knows that I got to get out of the house to go to get to work on time. So she's finding ways how can I help you, get out the door? And that's really nice and encouraging, and, ways to serve. And then also, when I come home from work, I know that she's been, at the house all day, and, especially if you don't have kids, or even if you do have kids, you're just kind of lonely. you want someone to talk to, so you probably experienced with that, having worked from home for 10 years. So there's just, dynamics with that I think will be good for you guys to know how the other person probably is feeling. But, I think just communicating while you're, away from each other during the day is good too. But I would second the marriage journal, because we really started digging back into that around this whole COVID stuff starting. And I think, our marriage has come out a lot stronger. I think because of that, because we were just sat down and were like, how are you feeling? What's your week look like?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
And I really struggled with, when I came home in February and quit my full-time job, I struggled a lot with affirmation, because I was used to getting affirmation at work about how I was doing a really good job. And all of a sudden I'm doing this business where I don't have an active upline. Like, I love my upline, but she doesn't work Beachbody business really anymore. So I didn't have someone to be like, Carolyn, you're crushing it. You're killing it. The only person I literally have is Brian to tell me I'm doing a good job. So it's really easy for me to sometimes feel like, well, does everybody like me? Do they think I'm doing a good job? Am I leading them well? Like, it's easy for me to get in my head about things and kind of to beat myself down. And so I found that I was going to him almost too much though sometimes, and relying on, if he didn't say something, I felt like I was just a failure at everything, So part of it was me finding ways to work through that, but part of that was too him needing to know that, hey, like, I'm not getting that anymore, and that might be a need or a place where you could help me kind of feel loved. And so I think that there'll probably be new things like that bubble up for you guys that are but will make you guys stronger, like Brian said. And I think
definitely talk about it if you're feeling those things, because when she, left her job, and I didn't even realize that was like, going on in her mind until all of a sudden when it just came out, I was like, whoa, so it's just, I think, and that's really, since then we started doing the marriage journal really, every Sunday, and that helps us continue to communicate about, how each other are feeling, or what might be bothering you or something.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I just will end with this, but I think sometimes that's like, when you quit talking to each other about how you're feeling or what's going on, that's like the start of things starting to harbor in your heart. And I think that, even if it's hard and it's ugly and it's gross and you're kind of embarrassed by it, bringing it to light is just really powerful. And so that's just like helped us just make sure that we're always bringing things to light with each other and not letting things just sit and sulk, so.
And one thing I've just kind of realized in life, and just in your marriage, it's like, I think you're either you're going closer together, you're growing closer together, or you're drifting apart in almost any situation or anything you're doing. You kind of have to almost think about, like, is this helping me grow closer to each other, or is this causing me to, go away or drift apart from, my spouse? And, it could be simple as, like, I don't know, like video games, like, is that, and not that they're
None
bad,
of the video games are bad,
but just more or less like, is it keeping me from spending time with my wife, or is, I don't know, just anything, just kind of
going to
having
the
that
gym
mindset.
for an hour, 2 hours after work, like it could be really anything, and, that's why then you find ways to still do the things you love, but maybe just alter them a little bit to be able to spend that time to come together. So, and that's one thing I'm really big on. I'll just kind of say this to kind of end things. But I'm really passionate about helping women be successful in this business, but like keep their marriage and their role as a wife and a mom first. I personally this year started using She Works His Way. So my upline started this ministry called She Works His Way. It's for women who are trying to do business God's way, and they have a business tracker. And every day, the end of doing your business time, it asks this question: from the way I live my life today, would my highest praise come from my husband and children? And it's that Proverbs 31 test of just, is this like ending each day with that question? And so I've always told Brian, like, at the end of the day, like my goal for so long was to be home with our kids and be able to work from home with them. And now that I'm here, like, I mean, yes, I want my business to continue to grow and I want to help other women do that. But like, I'm not trying to be like a top 10 coach within Beachbody. Like, I don't want that pressure. I don't want to be a workaholic. Like I'm so happy with where I am right now, and I'm at peace with that. And I think that's like going back to the question that you asked earlier of like, would we ever bring Brian home? I think it's just like, for us, this is what we dreamed about. And we're at peace and content here with where God has us. And so if I'm working hard and it fits into my nap time hustle and it ends up that we're in the place where Brian could stay home or, whatever, then like that was something God did, not something I did. So I think that's.
And I think it's something important to say too, because you might see this or heard about this in other multi-level marketing companies, but I know we won't, and any other coach on our team is never going to pressure, you to like get your husband to convince him to, spend all this money, or because first of all, you don't have to, or, do whatever that would put a strain on your marriage. Like we don't want that at all. Like we're not trying to, cause a rift between, you and your spouse. Like, you guys need to be on the same page. We're not going to push anything on you. If you're familiar, like you'll probably, if you're married, we say, hey, it is smart financially to sign your husband up as a coach. You don't have to do it immediately, but, and we can talk about this more, but like we do things, not to make you spend money, but to help you, save money where you need to, but make money where it makes sense. So nothing we do is anything that is like, I don't know, shady or I don't know, just.
Yeah. We want this business to help you guys come together and not be drifted apart, just like you were saying. And so that's something we're always thinking about. Even for our diamond retreat coming up, like we made it a couples retreat because we want to be about helping you guys grow closer together in your marriage. And Brian wants to know your husbands and he wants to be friends with your husbands. And like, we just believe in that so much. And so something we're really passionate about, but anyways, any other questions from anyone? Oh, go ahead. Oh, I think
Thank you guys for answering that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. I feel like 7 years, like we blinked and it was like, whoa, we've been married for 7 years. It sounds like a whole lot, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're still new to it, figuring it out too. So
Love Languages book, if you guys are familiar with the love languages, it's always a good one to read,
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and Brian, I'd love to connect. I actually am a director of operations for an insurance agency. So.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
I love that. Such a small.
What was your name, by the way? I don't think I caught it.
Jamie
and Kate. Got it.
Love it. Any other questions? Let's see. Annabelle, anything? Anybody?
There's something in the chat.
Oh. Brother Ross, Marriage Journal. Thanks, Drew. You're awesome.
I was just gonna say real quick, like there's been so many times being in the military, it's like certain things that I do, I'm in a vault. Annabelle doesn't understand it, and she'll be the first person to admit that, like, I don't really understand. But like, there's still days that I come home and she asks how work went, like, and I start rambling on about these certain things, and she's like, dumb it down, or like explain it in terms I get. Same thing goes for your wife. Like, Beachbody, you may not get it, but ask. Like, it shows that you have like a vested interest in what she's doing day to day, and you may not get it. That's okay. Like, the only way you're gonna get it is if you ask questions. So she asks questions of what goes on in my day. I ask questions on what goes on in her day, and I think that helps grow us together because it's like we're going through life together. We get what's going on in each other's days.
Yeah, or if not, you'll just kind of become roommates. And I was gonna say too, another thing that's really helped us is early mornings together. Like, I feel like our day is better and we communicate better throughout the day. And he was talking about like me getting up and having my quiet time every morning. That has come through this community, because getting up and waking up early to work out has made me have that, like, getting up early to have my time with Jesus while I'm drinking my Energize, and then working out and having that time together. Even if we're sitting here and we're just kind of chatting back and forth about what we have for today or what we have to get done, or like, hey, remember to pick this up, like just having, and you'll realize when you have kids, is having that like hour or two together in the mornings before you go your separate ways, and kind of do your own thing. Just really, I feel like for us, our days are better if we start the day off with our quiet time together, spending time with Jesus and each other. And then, yeah, I just think it's made a huge difference in my business and his work. before he goes and sits in a vault all day and can't really talk to anybody in the outside world. And yeah, that's something that I thought about, was just starting your mornings off together. Because if you wake up rushed and you're both rushing out the door, which is going to happen sometimes, it's just a little bit more hectic and it starts your day off a little bit more rough. So that's a goal. It doesn't always happen, but we try to wake up early and spend time together. But
and I'll say it held me accountable. Like, there was the longest time that she'd be getting up, I'd be sleeping in, and it's like, why am I not getting up? Like this, like we heard in our marriage counseling, like you grow closer to God, and as a result, you grow closer together. So like, if you're not growing in your faith as well, then like you're growing apart. So like, it's just been
a routine change that's made a difference for us. So that's all.
I love that. We agree. It's like an early morning date before the craziness of the day.
Yeah. Before the chillins wake up and all craziness happens.
Well, thank you everyone for being on tonight. I know we went a little bit longer than we had planned, but hopefully it was worth it. And hopefully this was a blessing, y'all. We were just laughing because we feel like everyone started sitting a little bit closer together. So hopefully this call worked for everyone. But anyways, Brian's going to close us out in prayer. What were you going to say, Keith? Oh, I thought
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if anybody, like if any of the husbands or boyfriends, if you're not married, want to chat or just talk more, have any more questions, just reach out to Caroline and you can get my number and send me a text or give me a call or whatever. But love to, if you want to talk one-on-one or just have any more specific questions.
No, also we were just going to say, because our people on our team know this, or if you're brand new, you may not know, but Keith actually wrote like up a document. If you're more of a visual person that needs like a list, he wrote a document probably about a month or so ago that's like, so your wife wants to do Beachbody type of thing. And it just kind of breaks down what Beachbody is, what our team is like, what to expect. If your wife does decide to either join as a challenger or a coach or whatever that may look like. But if you want that, reach out to any of us. We all have it. It's in our drive. So you're more than welcome to check it out if you need a visual thing. But also,
I will offer this up to any of you guys on the call. Watching her and her faith grow has made me want to grow as a man, as a father, as a husband. I wrote a devotional, and I've got like a PDF version that if you're interested in like a devotional that's just like about biblical manhood and what that looks like as far as fitness and being a husband and dad if you have kids, if you'd be interested, let us know. I can send you the PDF.
It's free. It's just
free.
a PDF.
But it's an option for you if you're looking for a devotional.
Yeah.
Also on Amazon, by the way, just plug it.
Oh yeah, it is on Amazon.
On Amazon.
But you can just message us and we'll give it to you for free.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said, I'm fully transparent. So any questions, like literally anything, like, I know your numbers guy like me, you want to see the numbers behind some of this stuff. So I'll be happy to kind of share some more of that too. But let's go ahead and pray and then everybody can go to bed. Heavenly Father, God, I thank you for today. And I just thank you for just this call tonight, just this group of husband and wives and maybe boyfriend and girlfriends that are on here, God, and just for their willingness to for especially the husbands to join their spouse, to just kind of show support in their efforts and what they're doing, and to try to understand a little bit more about what they're doing. Because God, we ultimately we just want for marriages to thrive, no matter what comes out of this call. That's the most important thing, that they'll just thrive and glorify you, because you created marriage, and that's what this is all about. But Lord, we pray for just their their businesses that they've started. Pray that you will just they'll give you the glory, and then you will just bless them the way you've blessed all the coaches that are already on this call. And just God, just be with everybody the rest of the way, the rest of this week. And it's in your precious Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you guys for being on. I hope you have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. This is amazing.
Did y'all get a picture?
Yes. I'll send it to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.